Good afternoon. The Memphis Landmarks Commission is hereby called to order for its regularly scheduled meeting of October the 27th, 2022. My name is Cindy Tucker, and I am the chair of the Landmarks Commission. Mr. Brett Ragsdale serves as the executive secretary of the commission. May I get a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Cox?
Here.
Ms.
Here.
Doss?
Present.
Ms. Strong?
Here.
Mr. Warren?
Present.
Chair Tucker?
Here. Thank
We
you.
have a quorum.
The Memphis Landmarks Commission and the Historic District provisions are established to ensure preservation of structures that are of historic value to Memphis. Our function is to preserve significant resources, enhance community pride, and foster civic beauty and ensure compatibility within designated historic districts. The Commission is authorized to review projects and determine their appropriateness based on the design review guidelines. At this time, I would like to swear in the staff. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. May I get a motion to approve the minutes from last month?
I so move.
If there are any? Well, it's from actually the month before that.
Both months? They're of course, the minutes are from 2 months prior.
Yeah.
Yes, I move to approve those.
Okay. So you can put the right date of that. Okay. And then can I have a second?
I second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Secretary, please provide us the Secretary's report if there is one this month, and then explain the procedure for this meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do not have a secretary's report, so I will go straight to the procedures. The procedure for this meeting will be as follows. I will introduce each case as listed on the agenda. Copies of the agenda are found on the right podium. For each case, staff with the Division of Planning and Development will give a presentation. At the conclusion of the staff presentation, the applicant will have 5 minutes to present his or her case. After the applicant's presentation, the commission will hear first from those speakers in support of the application, then from those speakers in opposition to the application, and the speakers will have 3 minutes each. And then finally, the applicant will have 3 minutes to provide rebuttal. These times do not include time for questions from and answers to the members of the commission. The chair may provide additional time provided both sides are given an equal amount of additional time. All parties who wish to provide testimony to the commission will be sworn in by the chair. If a member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a particular case on today's agenda, he or she will need to fill out speaker's cards for the record. Speaker's cards are available at the front podium. Once filled out, speaker's cards can be submitted to any DPD planner at the left podium. We do not need speaker's cards from the applicants since their names are already part of the public record. After all parties have been heard, the commission will close the public hearing, make a motion, and then deliberate on the case. All motions made by this commission will be made in the affirmative. The bylaws governing the commission require the affirmative vote of a majority of the attending members to approve an application. The commission may also vote to hold an application for a period of 1 month. Madam Chair, I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order, all applicants have been notified of this hearing, and all notice requirements have been fulfilled.
Thank you. At this point, the commission will establish a consent agenda. To establish the consent agenda, the secretary will call out each case. If any member of the audience or the commission objects to a case being placed on the consent agenda, he or she should do so by a show of hands, and the secretary reads when the secretary reads the case. Once the consent agenda is established, the commission will vote on all cases placed on the consent agenda as a whole and will not hold individual public hearings on each case. Mr. Secretary, which items are on our agenda are eligible for consent?
Item number 4, COA 2022-115 at 1970 Crump Avenue in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District. Item number 5, COA 2022-119, 1009 Terry Circle in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District. Item number 7, COA 2022-126, 958 Maury Street in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District. And that is with a friendly amendment that we will amend condition number 6 and add after the word trim, comma, foundation. So it will read, The paint scheme of the home shall consist of at least 2 colors that differentiate between the wood trim, foundation, and the brick details. Item number 8, COA 2022-127, 1868 and 1817 Valentine Avenue, Valentine Evergreen Historic District. And item number 10, COA 2022-133, 1914 Poplar Avenue, Evergreen Historic District. And that is with and actually we just got a letter of opposition, or a card of opposition, so we're going to hear 10. So.
Which one was that?
Item 10. So items 4, 5, 7, and 8.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as established by the secretary?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. I would like to remind the commission that by voting on the consent agenda, he or she affirms that he or she has read the staff report and is in full agreement with the conditions. Mr. Secretary, may I get a roll call?
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Ms. Strong?
Yes.
Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Doss?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. If you are here for any of the cases just listed on the consent agenda, you have been approved. You don't have to stay for the meeting, but are welcome to stay for the remainder of the cases if you'd like. Okay, at this point, I would like to state that the minor COA applications as listed on the agenda have been reviewed and approved by the Commission. The Commission will now continue with the regular hearing of the major COA applications as listed on the agenda. Mr. Secretary, please call the first of the regular agenda.
Item number 1, COA 2022-087, 1828 Faxon Avenue, Valentine Evergreen Historic District.
Is the applicant present?
Yeah, he's here. Over here.
Oh, I can't see for this thing. No. Please state your name and address for the record.
Danny Broadway, 1828 Faxon Avenue, or just Faxon.
Okay, thank you. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Have you had a chance to read the staff report?
Yes.
Do you agree with the staff report and its conditions?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any opposition to this case? Okay. Do the commissioners, would they like to hear the staff report? Okay.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Margot Payne with the Division of Planning and Development. I'm going to do a brief presentation because we already heard this pretty extensively 2 months ago, and it's been held 2 months since. But this is 1828 Faxon Avenue in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District. It's located right behind Cafe Eclectic on McLean. The home previously had a ribbon-style paved driveway and a deteriorated front walkway. In July, much of the front yard was paved to create more parking, which resulted in a stop work order. Here's some current site photos. Mr. Broadway has since worked with staff and originally with the Valentine Evergreen Community Association to propose an alternative landscaping plan that would limit the location of front yard parking to the traditional driveway area and to cover much of the paving with plants and seating areas and sculptures. This site plan shows the areas closest to the house behind the tree used as a courtyard seating area. And he recently added this fountain in the upper right. Mr. Broadway is also proposing to place a metal sculpture or a bench in front of the tree and place planters and stone spheres on either side of the walkway, which limits parking to the driveway only. He's also proposing to locate all excess parking to the rear of the lot, utilizing the alley access. So the guidelines explicitly state that excessive concreting in the front yard shall not be permitted. Front yard parking pads are not compatible. The applicant is now proposing to not use the front yard paving as parking, but to instead landscape much of it and cover much of the pavement with sculptures and seating areas. So the proposal still doesn't include removing any of the paving, but it does remove the opportunity for parking. And staff recommends approval for site improvements with 5 conditions that do limit all the parking to a driveway no wider than 12 feet and ensure that new paving in front of the house is not to be used as parking now or in the future. That concludes my presentation. Let me know if you have any questions.
Commissioners have questions for staff? Nope. Okay. Thank you. Applicant, did you have any presentation or comments that you would like to give to the commission?
Yes. Initially when I purchased the property, I had the idea to make it a creative live and work space. And I had an idea about the property, and I executed what I thought would make the property function for my purposes, unaware that I was committing a violation. Since then, I've abandoned the thought of using the front of the house as a parking area and just wanting to appreciate it for the beautiful location that it is and enhance it with some seating areas and some visual art. The last time we met, there was some discussion about possibly removing some of the concrete, which I would like to propose to possibly collaborate with the Valentine Evergreen Association to come up with a way to put a piece of art in that location to accent the neighborhood and also maybe talk about the historic value of where it is and also be kind of like a focal point as you walk into the neighborhood, because it is the first house that you encounter. Secondly, I just wanted to say that I have taken this as an incredible learning experience, just to kind of know how to navigate changing things in a historic district. And other than that, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Do y'all have questions for? Have you, you mentioned just then working with the historic in the Valentine. Mm-hmm. Have you already, because you've had a couple of months now, have you already talked to them about it?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
I have, but unfortunately the lady who's heading it now is moving away, so she's passed it along to someone else. So I'm going to have another conversation about it.
Okay.
My question for the applicant, the rest of the street block, they do not have concreted front yards, correct, on that street block?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of your question.
On the street block for Faxon Avenue, you stated it was an entranceway, and staff stated it is behind Cafe Eclectic. Mm-hmm. The rest of the street block, you do not find concreted front yards, correct? There are no other concreted front yards on that street block.
There actually are about 3 or 4 others.
Totally concreted front yards on that street block.
There are a couple, yes.
Okay, we can agree to disagree on that. My next question to you is, would you be open to removing the concreted parts of the front yard that are not part of the driveway extension or the driveway?
If totally necessary, yes, I would be open to it. However, there is a chance that more harm could be done to the tree that's in front of the house because there are roots that are going under the area where the concrete is. So, and then it's the aesthetic quality of how the concrete has been poured, and taking part out would also require a whole new kind of like construction area on top of the tree. And I just feel like it would be a lot of trauma for the tree. And part of what we were trying to do was trying to preserve the, preserve the tree because it's an asset for the neighborhood.
Yes, it is a mature tree, and the tree probably experienced damage when the whole front yard was concreted. So whatever damage was done to the tree was done when the yard was concreted totally. And if something, unfortunately, if that's the case, that's unfortunate, but a tree can be replanted, and I believe it's an M tree, so it could be replanted. Of course, it would take decades to reach that size, but it could be replanted, and you could have the consistency of an unpaved or unconcreted front yard.
Okay. Well, their rates are way. Any other
I've got comments and questions, so.
questions of the
Applicant.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Commissioner Strong asked about other driveways or yards rather on the street that have concrete. And you stated in the affirmative, yes, but I'm just curious if you could elaborate because I don't see any on the block on.
Okay. Well,
I'm looking at to clarify, I'm looking at Google Street View from Faxon.
Okay. So if you're coming down McLean towards Faxon, there is one house that's right, maybe 3 doors down from where Cafe Eclectic is. And there is a truck that parks in front of the door, and because it has a paved parking space in front of that house. And I noticed it after I got the citation, and I just wondered kind of how I was able to get the citation and how other people were able to kind of slide around it.
It's on Faxon, you said?
It's actually on McLean.
It's on McLean.
It's on McLean.
All right, well,
yeah, it's on McLean.
There's a possibility, and I'll just throw this in, that I don't know how long that's been there. Do you?
I just noticed it after this. I just noticed it. I actually took pictures and sent some pictures to try to get some information about
There's
it.
a possibility that it could have been there before, because it's VECA, right? It could have been there. When was VECA established?
It was 2021, but the UDC didn't regulate until 2011. So it's really a UDC issue as well. Front yard parking pads in all of Shelby County are regulated, but that wasn't established till 2011.
So some things are grandfathered in because we don't know that they're even, it didn't happen on our purview type of thing.
Yeah, I guess I would like to discuss where this is headed with you because, let me ask questions about the new material that has been provided since the project was held. And I guess it would be helpful to look at that slide right there. It's like a mirror. Is that a mirror image of what I'm looking at? It's weird. Yeah, so that's what I'm seeing. The planter, the bollard or the spherical side element in this sculpture. Can you tell us about the sculpture that would be on the street there?
Okay. So it would be something made from metal, and it would be anchored into the concrete that's there. At least 8 feet wide, probably pretty thin.
Yeah.
Abstract design.
Yeah.
But I would really like to incorporate something that deals with the neighborhood.
What's your budget for that sculpture, and who's going to make it?
Well, I'm going to be the person that designs the sculpture.
Uh-huh.
And so there's no design fee. It would just be the fabrication fee.
Right.
Which is something that I don't know exactly how much it's going to cost at this point.
And what are these planters and the spherical bollards? What's your budget for those, and where are they being sourced?
Well, to be honest, those are about $300 each.
Which ones?
The balls.
Okay.
And the planters at the top, they're about $250 each. And they are some of the planters are available for pickup as soon soon as you can get them, and then some of the balls you have to order. But I think I'm proposing maybe four of them.
The drawing shows three of the spheres and 2 planters.
Okay, yeah, three spears.
Okay. I don't have any more questions.
I have a question for staff. We also had another case this month, which was 1868 and 1870 Valentine Avenue. And the applicant paved a portion of the front yard similar to this. And when they received, when it was brought to their attention that they were in non-compliance with the design guidelines, they agreed to remove the concreted portion of the yard that was out of compliance. Yes or no?
Well, that was a tricky situation because we actually looked into when those parking pads were installed, and you can see them on Google Street View as far back as 2007, as far as you can go back. It's a duplex that has been a duplex since the 50s when it was built, and so those front yard parking pads are original to the house.
Right.
So even though they would not be allowed now, and they immediately got flagged because it was fresh concrete, the part that he extended was not in front of the house. And he also did go through, his subcontractor who poured the concrete went through city permits to do so. It did not come through our office because we don't usually review normal curb cuts like that. So he did everything by the book outside of Valentine Evergreen guidelines on that. So it was a tricky situation, and because he didn't technically increase the nonconformity, we have allowed it to stay because it was just 7 feet away from the house, not in front of the house. And the parking pads were original and probably 70 years old at this point. They'd also had support from the neighbors, and so it's a pretty entirely different situation. But originally, when we had the stop work order, that was also for window replacement mainly, and that's when we noticed the driveway, so we went back and forth about it. So that is not it's not a clear-cut case where, I don't know, does that answer the question, or?
Yes, it answers the question, but the applicant was agreeable to correcting what was in non-compliance.
His subcontractor was not, which is where the issue came up with, because he did the job according to the permit he got from City Sidewalks, and didn't want to remove it. So it became...
And with this case, did they pull the permits for the city, through the city, and did it?
In the Valentine Avenue
On
case,
Faxon Avenue.
there were no permits pulled, which is why it's different as well.
So there were no permits pulled to concrete the front yard.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing of the portion so that the commission can further discuss the case. May I get a motion from the commission?
For the purposes of discussion, I move to approve COA 2022-087, subject to staff conditions.
A second.
Okay, thank you. Now, we're going to talk amongst ourselves. Y'all can hear it, but we're just going to talk.
Right, and we can invite, is it correct? We can invite the applicant
Well.
back if we have a specific question.
Do we have to open it back up a different
You would
way?
have to open it back up.
Yeah, you can't ask him anymore.
You would just have to have a majority agree to.
You're right, we take a vote to open it back up.
Right.
Right, okay. Well, I'll start and say that this is a pretty exceptional case, and, you know, the majority of the front yard was paved, and I think when I proposed to hold, if I remember correctly, what I had in mind was I really wanted to have my socks knocked off by a proposal with specifics that were going to make this okay. And, you know, respectfully, there's intent, but there's, you know, we receive applications typically to renovate a building or to build a site feature like a wall. And when those are well prepared, there are drawings and we know what's coming. And the most offensive part of the project for me is the last little bit of concrete that wraps around the front of the tree, and that's where the sculpture is going to go. And you can tell where my critique is going. We don't know what that sculpture is going to be. We don't know how much it's going to cost, and that's very alarming to me. And I have a really hard time. I do appreciate some of the work and effort that's gone into this, but to me it falls a little short, and I have a hard time approving the pavement of this entire front yard. And I would propose that a possible solution would be to draw a straight line off the radius of what is the eastern edge of the tree well, draw a straight line, and to remove that last section of concrete that meets the sidewalk. And what that would leave is what appears to be a very wide driveway, but with the addition of those balls, which I think there needs to be more of because that's a long stretch and 3 doesn't quite delineate it. But what that does is creates a combined paved walkway of a walkway to the front steps and the driveway. And even then, there's a whole lot of concrete in that front yard. But that's my take, and it's very specific, but that's where I feel like this project needs to go.
And I know, are you a landscape designer or a designer at all?
Painter.
Okay.
Ma'am,
He's an artist.
Artist. Okay.
A very good one.
Okay. Not 3-dimension, you do. Okay.
Do we need to do a motion to invite the applicant back in?
I'm sorry.
Secretary?
I should have done
here,
that.
but I mean,
Okay.
Okay, no,
Anyway,
extensive discussion, I think, so.
right, sure.
I did that.
But my question would be, the staff did approve what he proposed, so, correct? There's an approval, what,
Well, we've been working on this for a couple months now. Originally, he had met with the neighborhood, and Lucas Skinner and I went out on site and we looked around and thought of some ideas. You know, we just wanted to find something that would work. But of course, it's at your discretion, you know, what you approve. But these are my recommendations.
And originally, the applicant said he didn't want to remove the concrete at all. So this was, I guess, a compromise between the applicant and the neighborhood association. And then when it came before landmarks 2 months ago, the commissioners here recommended that come back with a plan and also partial removal of the concrete in the front yard. My concern is, and as it was stated earlier, this deals with UDC, and it also deals with the design guidelines for the neighborhood. And the design guidelines for the neighborhood explicitly say that front yards shall not be excessively concreted. This is excessively concreted. And the UDC discourages concreting front yards. And if this is approved or the applicant is allowed to receive approval for a concreted front yard, it's non-compliance with the design guidelines for the neighborhood. It's in non-compliance with the UDC. And when there are violations of code violations and others have to comply,
It's setting a precedent.
It's setting a
that
precedent.
now, because he even asked about the one that was long before we had any purview over it. It's setting another precedent that
And-
we would accept.
Right, and there is no guarantee that this applicant will forever own the home or the residence or the property there. And just as he was inquiring about why something was concreted on McLean, others were inquiring, why is this concreted on Faxon? And this is a very highly visible location. It's right behind Cafe Eclectic, so it's not like it's isolated and hidden away. And that's not the ideal location to have future precedent based off of that, where people come up with this is concreted, and it can be removed. And it's unfortunate. It's a beautiful elm tree, and I hate to lose it, but the yard when you purchased the property was not concreted. And
but he is right, though. Once you pouring the concrete is one thing, but once you have to drill and pull it back up, it will compromise
It'll
the
compromise.
soil, the tree.
But I think
That's an
if
unfortunate
the tree is
consequence.
compromised, if the root system is a lot wider than, so it's probably already been compromised.
Replant a tree.
Because, well, or it'd take a while for that tree to go down anyway.
We can't sit here and speculate that the tree is going to be helped by leaving concrete in place that's wrapped around the tree. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it will be less damage, maybe not help, but less damage. But I can appreciate the compromise that you all came up with. I understand that, the concrete should not be there. However, I don't think the compromise, we actually don't work in precedent. Everything is case by case, at least from my understanding. Everything is case by case. I don't think it's setting a precedent because we do things case by case. We have to talk about everything separately, and there will be, as there always is, another person who does something and asks for forgiveness. That's just what happens, and we have to slap their hand every time, or find a compromise.
Or they'll
like
do it
here.
and they'll say,
This other
they come in
person.
front of us and they'll, because it's already there, ask for forgiveness afterwards.
But if it's not that, it'll be something else they're asking for forgiveness for too. So, but again, I don't, everything is case by case. I don't personally feel that it's setting a precedent.
There's a lot of language in the guidelines says you shouldn't pave your front yard. That's not case by case. we would not approve this if it came to us as a drawing, right? Do we agree on that?
Correct. We
No,
would
I
not.
wouldn't.
It would be rejected.
It's a design project.
Here's the other problem with this. So, we put this on hold. I think we were explicit. I don't know what made it into the meeting minutes, but it was like, bring us the cut sheet for not just the front, but what about that patio that's on page 11? What are those planters? What is this pattern on the concrete? We don't have that. So here's my other objection. What happens when, and I'm not saying it's going to be this applicant, but a future owner just moves a planter? They're going to be cars, they are going to park in the front yard. This is just stuff sitting on concrete that's supposed to keep them from parking in the front yard. And I'm going to suspend disbelief and say some of it, I'm not requesting it all. I'm not suggesting that it all be torn out, but I'm suggesting the portion that's the closest to the sidewalk that's noticed by all the cars driving down the street principally be removed as part of that compromise. It's not expensive to remove a 12 by 12 section of concrete compared to some of these investments in sculpture. That's a quality sculpture. I was on the Public Art Oversight Commission. What's worse than nothing is a really bad sculpture. No disrespect. I'm not speaking to your artistic abilities, but if we don't know what it is, like a 1/4-inch piece of plate steel that's water jet cut in the shape of a Indian flute player, we've seen bad,
But we don't have the
That's my
ability to
point.
regulate
We gave him, he's had 2 months to say, here's my amazing sculpture that's going to be a centerpiece on the front of my house. And without that,
Yeah, but we still, either way, we don't have the ability, even if you didn't like it, if he had done it, if you didn't like it, we don't have the ability to regulate that.
But
Everybody's personal taste is their own. We can't regulate that.
But we do have the ability to regulate about a paved front yard because it is in the design guidelines.
Just not the sculpture or what
So,
art he puts out
But
there.
as it was stated last time,
I wasn't here.
this compromise of the artwork or the sculptures is not permanent. So what's permanent is removing the concreted front yard, returning it back to a landscaped front yard, which is what is consistent and which has been the precedent all this time.
So perhaps there should be a proposal or an amendment. Somebody should make that.
well, I guess I would open it back. I would like to submit a motion to involve the applicant in that discussion. I guess the question is to inquire if he is agreeable to that compromise of removing. The first question is, does the applicant understand what I'm suggesting will be in my future forthcoming motion? are they agreeable to that? It'd be helpful if they are, but I guess it's not necessary. I'm going to submit a motion to vote on it. It seems like, anyway, let's do that. I'd like to move to open the discussion up with the applicant.
Can I ask you one more question?
Yes.
Commissioner Warren, before you start the motion. On number 4, where it's saying all newly paved areas excluding the permitted curb and extension shall be permanent landscaped and or obscured with items including but limited to bike racks, sculptures, planters, and seating areas. If, I'm asking the fellow commissioners if that was removed or stricken or obscured with items including but not limited to bike racks, sculptures, planters, and seating areas, meaning that they would just have to remove the permanent, the newly paved areas.
I think I will clarify that in the language of the motion. You're asking, is that applicable? Will that be applicable? It would be revised.
Well, I'm saying, as you talk about motions or amendments, these 5
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Before you get ready to make your motions, recommendations, I was saying this one where, if it was reworded where basically you remove the newly paved areas or concreted areas, or another option would be where they don't have the option for making with the bike racks and the sculptures and the planters and the seating areas because it's not permanent, but it would just be they would have to do the newly paved, remove all the newly paved areas. So that last part of the sentence would be stricken or obscured with items including but not limited to bike racks, sculptures, planters, and seating areas according to the
But it's
submitted
not all
site
of
plan.
it. He still has to leave the paving for the driveway, and I think Peter said the walkway to the front. So it wouldn't
No,
be
it's
all
only,
new paving.
Look, I think the easiest way
Show it.
is pass this down. This is what I would propose, and I'll show this to the applicant, but it involves,
Commissioner Warren, I was going to suggest, I know you've talked about a couple of things. You can just make a motion to whatever you're, suggesting and have a vote on it and see where that goes. So,
that's fair. I honestly, this feels like the most generous motion I can drag out of the depths of my sympathy here. I'd like to tear it all out, and I think this is a compromise, and maybe pass it down there so you guys can see it as well. And I don't know if we want to put it on just pass it around to staff. Do you want to put it on the projector?
Make the motion. It's the 5 of you that are voting on it, so it really doesn't
I know.
matter.
Am I describing it in words? Because I'll reference this sketch that is handed to the staff.
I would like for all the 5 of you to see it.
second, behind you, Commissioner Warren, I would like to see it torn all out too.
Right.
Because frankly, it's just non-compliance with the design guidelines.
Right.
And it's not something that the city even encourages, or the county.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to need a copy of even your copy so I can amend.
Do that one.
I'd like to revise my initial motion to approve case COA 2022-087, subject to the following conditions, some of which I'm just going to reread. Condition 1, as written. Condition 2, as written. Condition 3, as written, and amended to add one additional round spherical bollard. The illustration shows 3. I think it needs a minimum of 4. Condition 4, amended such that one section of the concrete would be removed in front of the tree and the curb would be extended to the sidewalk. I have a sketch that I'll hand to staff. But the parts about sculptures, planters, and seating would remain. It's just a more in the more specific and remaining area. Condition 5 would remain as written.
Did you say just limited to one of the spherical planters? Or spherical
I proposed adding one more. So we've got like,
One more.
we've got like 30
I
feet
got you.
of distance or more from the sidewalk to the steps. And, you know, if they're scattered too infrequently, then.
I didn't hear the more part. I just heard one. Okay.
Okay, so Ms. Cox,
Yeah.
Ms. Cox, you seconded that, so if you
Second.
agree with that motion. Okay.
You want to go?
Yes. Ms. Cox,
Sorry. Yes.
Ms. Doss,
Yes.
Ms. Strong,
Yes.
Mr. Warren,
Yes.
Chair Tucker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Talking about going.
The next case is item number 2, COA 2022-088, 1263 Sledge Avenue in the Ansdale Snowden Historic District.
Here.
Hey.
Okay, the applicant, are you the applicant? Okay. Could you state your name and address?
Evelyn Royston, 2809 Kirby Parkway, Suite 116-32, Memphis, Tennessee, 38119.
Okay, could you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Have you read the staff report?
Yes.
Are you in agreement with the staff report?
Yes, they have actually no recommendations at this point.
Okay, no recommendations. Okay. And I have an opposition here. Okay, staff, hear the presentation.
All right, Lucas Skinner with the Division of Planning and Development. Again, this is COA 2022-88. This is located at 1263 Sledge Avenue, which is in the Ansdale Snowden Historic District. The applicant is Dr. Moore, represented by Ms. Royston here. The request is new construction of a metal detached garage to the rear of the lot, and we are recommending to take whatever action the commission deems advisable. Located here on the slide is two pictures from street view of the principal structure of the home. It's a 2-story, 4-square. As a site plan, the orange arrow indicates sort of the pad or what would be a bird's eye view of where this is going to be. So the structure is to be a 30 by 20, so 3-car garage, but with 2 garage doors, one 8 by 8 and one 16 by 8. The applicant is requesting for metal siding that would be white, like this picture, and then a black metal roof. The metal would be laid horizontally, similar to this picture. Does the project meet the district guidelines? We're saying maybe, as the location is to the rear and essentially really the only place where you could fit a structure of this size. So that is essentially compatible with the guidelines. However, the metal siding and metal roofing are not compatible with, the wood siding house and the shingles of the home. It does seem to be slightly maybe more of a commercial or industrial type garage for a residential neighborhood. So with that, we are recommending that the commission take whatever action you deem advisable. If approved, we are recommending 4 conditions as shown. With that, I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Do you have questions for staff?
Do you have a site plan showing the relative proportion scale of that footprint, the lot, and the house? Thank you.
Yeah. So there's a concrete pad. So this is like the home, concrete pad, and then this would be the...
Is the concrete pad between the home and the proposed structure existing?
I do not believe that it is. I can have Ms. Royston speak to that, but
I mean, I don't know that it's particularly relevant, but I'm curious.
No, the concrete pad is not existing.
Okay.
That would be used as kind of a turnaround so they can drive forward to the street towards Sledge rather than backing out.
Right.
And I will say those conditions that I just saw, that recommendations, we are going to have a residential electronic overhead garage doors. It will not be utility type doors. And we have requested that the metal building company fabricate the siding so that it's horizontal and not vertical, to look, just like regular siding. And the house is white with the black asphalt shingle roof, so we matched that up to, to look in the same characteristics of the house with the white metal siding and the black roof. And it's not visible at all from the sledge.
Okay, do we have any more questions for staff?
Yeah. Why is the site plan not to scale? You got your 5 foot wide. So they're showing, I just want to point out to, conversationally, there's a 5 foot dimension for the setback on the east side. And it's more like 10 feet. I'm trying to understand. So the numbers, of course, add up 15, 30, and 5. Anyway, maybe that was more for the discussion than for staff.
Well, so we do have a condition 3 that the setbacks meet the applicable UDC accessory structure.
Okay. Okay, thanks. I guess here's a question. Would the east side of the shed, or accessory structure rather, would it align with the east side of the house? Or approximately? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yes. So if they're showing the house to be roughly this, you can't see. This is like 5.9. It says so.
Okay.
It's 5. Then yes, it would essentially be.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions for staff from the commission? Okay, thank you. Do you have some time for a presentation if you'd like to say anything?
Well, Madam Chair, I would just like to say we have complied with the setback requirements. Actually, this particular structure has more setbacks than the adjacent properties, which their buildings abut right up to the property line. So we have made provisions to meet, a certain setback requirement as recommended, 5 feet on the side, 15 feet on the other side, and 13 from the rear, which is an alley property. So with that having been said, we've really made our provisions to try to make this building fit the characteristics of the neighborhood and welcome any recommendations that the board may have.
Okay. Y'all have any questions for the applicant? Commissioners?
I guess I do. Has there been discussion about maybe reducing the size of it from 3 bays? So right now it has 2 doors, but one is a double door, 16 feet by 8 feet tall, and the other one's 8 by 8. So has there been any discussion either internally among ownership or with neighborhood about, well, they'd like it to be smaller, or maybe that would help, or would it suit your needs? Is it even on the table?
Well, the 2 adjacent properties next door to this property actually have larger detached accessory buildings. So this is actually smaller. The reason we went with the 3-car garage is he has an antique that would be mostly parked in the 8-foot entry, and the double car would just be for regular use.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner? Okay, thank you. We have a person in opposition. Is it Lipinski? Okay. Could you please state your name and address?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Marty Lipinski. I live at 774 East Snowden Circle. I'm past president of the Ansdale Snowden Association.
I need for you to, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Thank you. Go ahead, please. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, as I said, I'm past president of the Ansdale Snowden Association and now currently member of the board. We are not opposed to Mr. Moore having a structure in the yard. Given the amount of car break-ins we have on the streets, we think it's very important, and this is a good step for safety. We are just concerned about the size and the character of this structure. This is sort of like, looks like an industrial structure that's going to be put in the middle of a historic district. Our neighborhood does have many carriage houses that have been built in the past. They may be almost of the same size, but the character of them and the materials fit in with the neighborhood. This is very, very intrusive. The materials and the size are just, not at all in character, and it violates the guidelines that were put up there earlier. So we are concerned about, violates the guidelines about reflecting the character of the existing house and surrounding buildings. Certainly, you look at that structure, and you can't say that that does not violate that condition. We do have some metal structures in the building, but in the neighborhood, but these are very small yard storage sheds. We would like to see this modified somehow, either reduced in size considerably, or have the change in the materials of the building. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Wait a second, sir. Mr. Lipinski? Wait 1 second. Do y'all have any questions for? I'm just making sure they don't have any questions of you up here. Okay, thank you. Okay, and the applicant, did you have some time for rebuttal if you'd like to say something?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to say, I don't know that the neighbors realized the size, the height of the building. The elevation is only 9 feet, which is standard size. So it's not like it's elevating above any of the other accessory buildings. And as I mentioned, directly adjacent to Mr. Moore, we have 2 detached accessory buildings that are much larger than this building, and some have even more than 1 accessory building on the property. So as far as size goes, I don't think that his size is out of character with any of the other accessory buildings in this neighborhood. Now, Mr. Moore has really gone out of his way to try to make this in more characteristics with the house and the neighborhood. As far as the metal goes and the color scheme. And deciding to go, instead of with the roll-up metal doors, he's going with the electric overhead doors. And as well, we'll have an exit door from the garage, so with windows. So he's made provisions to make this look more residential than utility.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do y'all have any further questions?
I have a question for the applicant. I have a question. Just in terms of materials, is there a reason the applicant chose metal versus hardy board or cement panel?
I'm sorry?
Is there a reason that the applicant is proposing to use metal instead of hardy board or cement panel?
I don't think he really was aware of the conditions, the landmark conditions for the historic area, and had ordered the building prior to finding out this information. So afterwards, we met with the board, the staff, and have tried to comply with other conditions to make it more applicable to the neighborhood, historic districts. He is, if under those conditions, willing to, after even getting the metal building, maybe have certain materials added to the exterior to give it a different finish, such as if we got to add asphalt shingles to the metal roof, or whatever applicable, recommendations that you all recommend. So,
thank you.
So we went back and forth about the same thing on Kendall, or Kyle and Kendall. Same thing, same materials, and that was problematic for the commission. But this one, why wouldn't this one fall into that same space?
Are they in?
They're not in the same neighborhood,
Okay.
but would it fall into that same problematic space as the one on Kendall? Was that yours? The one on Kendall? And Kyle?
We had the one on, it was
I mean,
off-
Kyle and Parkway.
Right,
Sorry,
South-
Kyle and
yeah,
Parkway.
Kyle and South Parkway, yeah. I'm sorry, you mean, well, that was
I
a
know.
little different because of,
There was a lot of
Yes.
things going on, but in terms of the accessory structure, we isolate that one.
right, because yes, there are, they are allowed to have a garage. It is, it's an allowed accessory structure. We can't necessarily get too nitty gritty with size. They are allowed 75% of the total square footage of the principal structure. So one thing, actually, I will get into this. My colleague, Mr. Penzis, did bring up that on my condition number 2 at the end for if approved for metal, et cetera, we do have to remove that because there is a UDC provision to add another layer of complexity to this that there needs to be architectural compatibility with the structure from a UDC standpoint. So if approved for metal, they would in theory need a variance as well. So it is somewhat similar in that they can have a garage. Size, again, we can't get super, super detailed unless it hits that 75% threshold.
Sure. And it's not visible from the street.
Right, and this is not a corner lot as that one was.
And that was going to be my question. I thought that was not terribly visible.
Right,
correct?
that was on a hill, on a corner. This is definitely a different lot.
But in terms of the material, so that part has been stricken, it cannot be metal.
Right. I mean, if it were to be approved for metal, they would just need to get a variance to double up with the UDC.
I mean, for the sake of consistency, though, can we leave that part, can we keep the stricken part out for the sake of consistency? Like, leave it as it is on here, not on here, but on here. Is this what we're looking at to vote on, or this? Because mine isn't stricken.
Right.
Yes, and you will be voting, whoever makes the motion, it'll just be as amended, staff conditions as amended. So it would be what you're seeing here with the stricken.
Okay.
Right. Going forward, we can vote with this right here.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know, I guess maybe we don't even have a motion yet. Does anybody, we still have our applicant standing here.
Right. Are we ready to go to motion?
Well, I guess I have a
questions?
question that involves the applicant.
Yes. Do you?
As I understand this, and tell me if I'm wrong, there is, all feelings aside, and, I will say that the lot looks it's hard to see the backyard from the street. The houses are very close together. I think that works in your favor. But I think what's happening here is that this is being proposed as a metal building because it's a pre-engineered, pre-manufactured, economical building. And I say that with no judgment, right? So, I mean, for us to talk about putting wood on it or asphalt shingles is bizarre. It's not bizarre, but it is, from a contractor would tell you it's bizarre. So am I correct, though? And that's what, I mean, have they gone so far as to price a stick-built building made out of studs with a garage door from Overhead Door Company or Clopay? This is a turnkey purchase, right?
It is a turnkey purchase, and unfortunately, he had already purchased the building, but he's willing to add exterior finishes to change the outside finish that meets whatever criteria the board deemed necessary.
Okay. Did they send shop drawings or what we call shop drawings? The drawing we have, and I've visited their website last time you were on the docket. I mean, can you go to a 3D image? That shows 2 bays. It's very hard to see because of the white and the contrast. But that does not show your 16-foot wide door and your 8-foot door.
Right, because originally the building he ordered had 3 garage doors that were kind of barn type style, and the staff recommended they didn't like that particular look, so he has had it changed, that particular part of it, so that it just went to 2 door openings, a 16 feet opening and an 8 feet, rather than the 3 barn type, garage doors that were going to be there, and they were going to be roll up doors, so he had that framed out so he can do electric doors as well.
Okay. But there are no drawings available to us that are what? So an elevation drawing that shows the facade of the building is to scale that allows us really to see the proportions. This is a perspective drawing. Do we have any more drawings that are available to?
Not at this time. They haven't fabricated that wall yet.
Okay. that's helpful. I'm just getting some information.
Okay. So at this time, we're going to close the public hearing of the portion. Could I have of the meeting, could I have a motion for discussion purposes?
Yes, for the purposes of discussion, I move to approve case COA 2022-088, subject to staff recommendations.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Now we're going to talk. Commissioners?
I'm fine with it the way, I'm fine with this the way it is here.
The way it is for these recommendations? Okay.
I am.
Anybody, you have anything?
I have a question for staff. So you stated that the metal is in non-compliance with the UDC, and so that's why condition number 2 is like it is. If this is approved here, would they still have to get a BOA? Go to Board of Adjustment? Because
No,
it's just the
high-quality materials would hardy, that would meet our interpretation of architectural compatibility, so they would be fine.
But if it was metal, that's when they would have to go to.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Peter?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough, but it's just so limited in view from the back. I mean, I read one of the opposition letters said something about the neighbor can see it across the fence or whatever, but people can do whatever the hell they want in their backyard and put up an inflatable bouncy castle that stays blown up all year long. I mean, like, I'm looking at the street. You can't see this thing.
That's what I'm saying. Is it at all visible from the street?
No.
Barely, and if it is, it's a sliver. And the fact that it's white with horizontal texture, you're not even going to know whether it's hardy or metal, I think.
From the street.
From the street, which is what matters to us.
Yeah, that's right.
Consistent. But it still needs to be consistent. When
Which,
you do
you
for
know.
one, you have to do for the other.
On meaning the other one?
We didn't vote to approve that. So we
When
voted
you
to
mean
remove it.
consistent, do you mean from the one from a long time ago?
Yeah,
But that was in another neighborhood.
it is, but aren't the guidelines not
I
similar?
don't know what the guidelines are.
I've got the guideline. It says, I'll read it to you, an outbuilding. Garages and storage buildings shall reflect the character of the existing house and surrounding buildings and should be compatible in terms of height, scale, roof shape, materials, texture, and details. So the one that jumps off the list is materials, perhaps.
She's saying it should be compatible for our statements from the one that was in, not Evergreen. Evergreen?
Glenview, it was
Glenview.
Glenview.
The last case you said everything was a case-by-case basis?
Thank you, thank you.
But if we're gonna rule the same on this outbuilding, the materials are the materials, and we still voted to remove the concrete from the last one. So because it wasn't part of the guidelines, it was contrary to the guidelines, so.
I guess my
I voted
question,
with you to remove
Oh, wait,
it.
there's one more. There were 2 paragraphs under outbuildings. The second paragraph is very short, one sentence, says, the location and design of outbuildings should not be visually disruptive to the character of the surrounding buildings. I think we meet that bar.
Yep.
Because it's
I
so
don't
well
disagree
hidden
there.
behind it. So.
I don't disagree. It's not disruptive. Or blue.
I guess my question would be, what else could be done? Because it's a notation in here that what was originally proposed made it more of a farmhouse type style, and we're dealing with the 4 square. So
I think, unfortunately, the bottom line, as I understand it, Commissioner Strong, is that because it's a prefabricated offering from a company, nothing can be done. You either buy it or you don't. And I heard that they bought it. I don't even think that's relevant or affects my decision because it's such a simple form. But, you know, it's the difference between a contractor building something and saying, yeah, let's change that. I don't think anything can really be changed here. The doors could have been changed and were changed. I heard that.
but with the condition that's up there now, condition number 3, where it says in terms of materials, it has to be either wood, hardy board, or cement panel.
Yeah.
That would be closer to
Yeah.
the house materials. And I guess that's what I'm asking. And I know you asked the applicant earlier when you were, when in discussion, and then we found out that it was prefabricated and possibly, most likely already purchased, because you're asking about the shingles and, you couldn't really add that to a prefabricated building. And I guess, since now it can't be metal, but the structure is metal.
Can you see this at all from the street?
I mean, here, you can look at my phone.
I mean, it's not
I
built,
looked at it on the map.
I mean,
Left to right.
that's a view if you were like walking down the street.
Yeah.
So,
Wait, where's the thing at?
I mean, can you see into the
That's the house, so
backyard?
if you-
Somewhat.
No, but you wouldn't be able to see it from the street.
I mean, like I said,
Just a little.
So I think you can, it's a pedestrian, it's, if you're walking, you won't see all of it, but you'll see a part of it.
Okay, are we ready to?
well, I think Commissioner Strong pointed out a clarification that's needed. If we could look at the conditions again, right? Because if the condition does not allow a metal building.
So it's out.
So the discussion needs to be, are we okay with it being as purchased with metal? Or are we going to require them clad it with horizontal hardy siding?
I'm fine with it as a condition by staff.
Do what?
I said I'm okay with it as conditioned by
I'm
staff
fine
here.
with two,
Okay,
to cover
all
it
right.
up.
Yep.
Yeah,
Cover it up.
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, she said that he said,
right.
he said he would.
Okay, that makes everybody
I
happy.
think we're just kind of beating a dead horse.
Motion stands. The motion stands as suggested.
Okay?
Okay, you ready for a roll call?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ms. Strong?
Yes?
Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Vice Chair Doss?
Yes.
Chair Thomas?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you.
Item is item number 3, COA 2022-110, 857 East Parkway South in the Cooper Young Historic District.
Is the applicant present? Could you come forward, please?
Hi, my name is
Okay.
Oksana Piven, and the address is 254 Court Avenue, Suite 513.
Okay, could you raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes,
Thank you. Have you reviewed and looked at the staff report?
yes.
Are you,
I do agree to all of the staff report. The only one thing I wanted to check if possibly we could stick with the regular roof instead of the clipped roof. That's the only thing. Other than that, we agree to all of them.
does staff want to see the presentation?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Aisha Penzes, Division of Planning and Development. Item before you is the COA request for new construction of a second floor addition and exterior alterations to renovate the existing contributing structure in Cooper Young Historic District. This photo was submitted by the applicant and it shows the existing condition of the front facade of the home. Applicant is proposing to replace the door and two windows on the right side of this front facade with new sliding porch doors that match the original width of this opening. This photo here shows the left elevation of the existing structure in its current condition, and the applicant is proposing a second floor addition towards the back of the house behind the existing ridge line of the main roof structure. Here are the proposed floor plans for the first floor and the second floor. The second floor plan indicates that the addition to be towards the rear of the structure to add 2 bedrooms and a loft room and a bathroom to increase living space. Here is the proposed front elevation showing that the existing front dormer detail and porch details to remain. The existing entry door and 2 windows on each side to remain and to be replaced with new windows and a new door. And the door on the right side of the front facade to be replaced with a larger sliding porch doors. This is the proposed left side elevation showing the second floor addition located behind the existing ridge line and have a lap siding exterior. Overall, the second floor addition and the exterior alterations are compatible with the design guidelines, and the proposed addition is also appropriate in terms of location, size, scale, and materials. In conclusion, we recommend approval of this COA request with 9 conditions to ensure further compatibility and consistency with the design guidelines and existing historic character of the property. And I believe the condition that the applicant does not agree is condition number 5, where we recommend that the clipped gable details of the original roof to be retained and or replaced, and the eave depth of the addition of the roof to match the original. And this concludes my staff presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff?
Yes. The clipped gable in question for condition number 5 is the side of the house. There's a clipped gable on the front, which is being retained, right?
Yes, this is the main roof.
Yeah.
The main roof has clipped gable on each side, left and right, as shown on the photo over here. And the applicant wants to go forward with the proposed elevation that shows no clipped gable detail.
I have a question for staff. I'm having trouble reconciling condition number 2, which appears to allow a sliding glass door on the front porch, with condition number 3, which says all replacement windows shall match the original openings in terms of size and location. Mm-hmm. You're in favor of allowing the sliding glass door on the front porch?
Yes. We are recommending approval for the sliding glass doors with the same width of the original opening and the remaining of the windows that are going to be replaced to match the original openings in terms of size and location.
Yep.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Could you go back to the previous drawing that showed the front facade? Thank you.
This one or?
Yes, that one. Thank you. Of what's proposed. I guess my question for the applicant is...
applicant or staff?
For the applicant.
Well, we're not, we go to staff, finish staff, and then we'll go to the applicant. You have any for staff? Okay. Any more for staff, Peter?
No.
Okay. Got any? Okay. Do you have any comments before we go? No. Okay, then nobody is in opposition or favor, right? Okay. Okay. You go.
The only question I had for the applicant is I'm just curious, the reasoning behind replacing the windows with the sliding glass door. on the front facade.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Just
You understand
wondering the reasoning behind replacing the windows on the front facade with the sliding glass doors.
Oh, the reason we are substituting the windows with the sliding doors because originally the structure was built as a duplex. So currently we actually still have like a door there and 2 windows on the sides. And because this is going to be one of the bedrooms, this is we are not keeping the structure as a duplex. It's a single family residence, so it's mostly more practical because it's an opening from the bedroom to usage of the porch.
Thank you.
I'll follow up with a question for the applicant. It's kind of maybe a precursor to the discussion, but since we've got you there, I understand what you're saying, that it's not a duplex anymore, but I have to say, one of the more obvious and incompatible interventions you see, and I've had several on the street that I grew up on North Avalon or Auburndale, different district, but is that addition of these, sliding patio doors on front porches. And so my question is, would you be amenable to either some other solution there? Again, maybe getting ahead of myself, but either rendering a door, often in New Orleans or other places, you have doors that are fixed, or in any adaptive reuse, a door can essentially be a window. The hardware is removed, but the door scale stays the same. I see right now there's a security grill on it. You could, for example, remove that. Do you intend to remove the bars from the windows of the house? Just up to you, I guess. They're there now.
I think so.
Right. So, for example, there seems to be a color difference in the door. If you were to essentially screw the door in place, remove the hardware, paint it white, would you be amenable to something like that? Or alternatively, to taking the windowsill and having a mason simply build the brick and the sill height of the adjacent side lights and putting a double hung window in there? So I'm being very specific with the scenarios, but would you be amenable to an alternative there?
I really think it will be very difficult to match such an old, brick to the new brick. So honestly, right now that we purchased the property, whoever had this property before we purchased it, it was already converted to the single family house. And we totally understand that we have to comply with the rule that the opening will be exactly the same size. So the sliding doors will be, it's a custom order and doesn't change the appearance of the front of the house. I think it will look better than trying to match the brick from such an old brick to match with the new.
Yeah, no, I guess you do have a good point on the brick, because it's not painted, right? These photographs, a question for you or staff. The photographs I see on page 19 and 22. There's a good one on page 19 and a good one on page 22. Those are the current condition?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess my question for the applicant, instead of sliding doors, have you thought about French doors in place of that? Instead of sliding doors, have you thought about French doors?
Didn't think about this, no.
Instead of sliding doors, have you thought about French doors?
I didn't.
Because you sometimes do see on older homes like that where, because you have the 3/1 window grids of patterns and you have the door, and then you have a French door. You do find that on some of the older homes, and that would maybe blend in more instead of sliding doors. And it wouldn't be as obvious.
That's a possibility.
And it would sort of match. Are you keeping the 3/1s? Are you keeping the 3/1 windows grids? Are you keeping the windows as 3/1s? Are you replacing the windows?
All of the windows.
You're replacing all the windows?
Yes.
With 1/1s or 3/1s?
I'm sorry?
Are you replacing in kind with 3/1s that are like on the house right now, or are you going with 1/1 windows?
Vinyl windows.
If I
Okay.
may,
I know they're not.
can I answer? So this property is in Cooper Young Historic District, and Cooper Young Historic District does not regulate window replacements. So we cannot force the applicants to match the grid patterns as long as they match the existing opening sizes for doors and windows.
Yes.
Okay, any more questions? Okay. Going to close the public. May I have a motion?
Sure. I move to approve case COA 2022-110, subject to staff recommendations.
Do you have a second?
I second.
Well, there's
Discussion.
two, I got into it a little too early on the sliding door, but I've stated the way I feel about that. I think that's rough on this house, right? I mean, you don't see large sliding glass doors on the front of a house. And I've got the guideline here. Cooper Young's a little light on windows, but I think it's well within I think it's our duty to look for alternatives on that. I mean, I'd go so far as to say even the bedroom function there facing the street is better off with an alternative than a floor-to-ceiling glass. 3.5 foot wide sliding panels, 7 feet together, two of them. I mean, that's what you see on the back patio off a dining area to the pool deck, in a suburban house, right?
I'm also not thrilled with seeing, since it's not a duplex anymore, too.
Well, I'm not bothered by
front
that at all. Like the alternative that I suggested, whereby the door is simply replaced with Margot can help me out with terminology here, a door slab that's got a window in it that's screwed into the opening and caulked in place and painted. Fixed door, thank you. It's still a door. So, I mean, the downtown, Central Station is nothing like this house, but it's a good example of a historic building where the street had doors. Now there's Bishop Restaurant. They left the door handles on those and just screwed them shut. I mean, I think I think it speaks to, is there a stigma with a duplex? I don't think so. Not this cute, cool Midtown duplex. That's why I was going into the details about the storm door gives away the door, and the fact the door might have been a different color. It almost looks like it's a darker color, whereas the windows are white. I think everything over there could be painted white. And so that's one option. I mean, the other option is to try to find some brick and engage a skilled mason to build up that sill. It's very hard to see, but there's a stone sill, and to sort of turn that into a 3-bay window set. So anyway, that's the first item, is that patio door. The second that staff had an opinion about was the clipped gables. And I'm putting my architect hat on spatially. I'm willing to concede that to the applicant, that their floor plan doesn't work if they're required to maintain the clipped gables, because if you look at their second floor plan, they're taking the full width of the house. Clipped gables are slicing off the roof edge, right? So you cannot hide behind the ridge if the ridge doesn't run the full width.
But
So
you're
you
talking
can,
the side, not
you
the
can
front.
see there in that image, the last 5 feet of each edge of the house is clipped. And the applicant's second floor plan needs the ridge to be extended to remove the clip, right? Does that make sense? So that there's a room there on the second floor.
You're talking about the side,
Sides.
not the one,
Right.
not the small.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So, again, back to compromises, give and takes, right? I'm kind of against one of the things they're asking for and for the other one.
So I think with the front facade or behind the porch, you know, if they were to put the 3 windows in instead of the sliding door, it is hidden behind the porch, the brick on the porch. So it wouldn't be necessarily so visible, and it could be hidden, and it would be a small location that's not truly visible unless you come up on the porch.
Are you back?
I'm referring to where they're proposing to put the sliding door. So if they were to build up the brick and with the window sill, it wouldn't be so.
Oh, you're
visible.
saying that there's a little, it's not like brickwork out on one of the 3 porch columns, for example, is far more prominent from the street than
Right.
if the mortar color was off by a shade or something, right?
Right, it's hidden
Right.
behind.
Right. It's got
the
a
brick
knee wall
columns.
on the front porch.
Right, so if they were
Right.
to do that, it wouldn't be so visible. It'd be a small space.
And I'll be honest, in order of cost, like the patio door is the first on the list because you got to take out the brick and it's a custom patio door. The second most expensive is adding a couple 24, 30 inches of brick in a sill and putting a window where the door is, but leaving those windows there left and right of it. And the cheapest is the option with a fixed door. So, I mean, I want the applicant to understand that what we're proposing is probably also cheaper.
Now with the clipped gable, I just think that does add character to this property. You know, when you look at the image on page 21, the side profile, if you're looking, because it's publicly visible from the street on page 21 with the side profile. It's not so much on page 20 when you look at it, and the rafters underneath, it's sort of, it's a feature on the house because you have the rafters in the front and then you have the rafters on the side on the second, on the upper level.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what makes it that bungalow craftsman. So I agree with staff condition for number 5, because that's what adds to the craftsman style bungalow trait of this property.
Yeah, but, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I understand it, you know, space-wise, and
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying,
On page 6, if you can pull it up on the screen, the bathroom doesn't work. You know, the corner of the loft doesn't work. So, I mean, to me, I'm looking at street view. It's visible driving down East Parkway, but if the brackets were to remain and the transition to a new wall surface that's going to be above those double windows, because nobody's looking, y'all can't see this. I'm trying to think what's in here. What in here is the closest image to the street view? Yeah, I guess page 21. Aisha, can you go to page 21, please, the photograph? It might be sideways. I mean, sideways on the, oh yeah, great, thank you. Anybody else have an opinion about that clipped gable and the ridge?
I mean, as long as that front one's there.
Right. I mean, it's not, you know, it's a compromise, but the second floor habitable space would have to be limited. You would cut off, you would drastically affect the floor plan of the second floor. You would have to extrude your walls back from the top of the clips, right? You'd lose 6 feet down the sides, and to me, the front of the house is, and it still would have, like I said, it still have the brackets and the chimney.
But you.
So.
No, I don't, it's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I like the front clip. I mean, I don't, the side.
The brackets are not illustrated on the elevation drawing provided by the applicant, but I'll amend the motion to include the retention or restoration of the 2 brackets.
Yeah, we have a condition number 4 that states exposed rafter details
Yeah,
and roof brackets shall be retained and or replaced
Yeah.
with appropriate materials
yeah,
to match the original.
okay. Okay, so I think I'm ready, if it's, unless there's further discussion, I'll amend my motion.
You need to clarify anything to do with her, I know you're going there with, what were the recommendations, wait a minute, for the, I'm back to the porch and the doors.
I think, it's put simply, I don't think we should be installing sliding glass patio doors on the front of historic houses. And I think there's other alternatives that can be explored that really, they don't affect the floor plan or the function. And if there's an idea that you absolutely don't want any confusion about having the second door, you don't want any remnant of the duplex, then one of them, I'm gonna give two options, right? One's the fixed door, make it inoperable. The other is to restore a little masonry wall in the sill and to turn the door itself into a double hung window like what's there left and right of the door right now. So.
I think French doors was a good idea also.
Yeah.
Not to shock you too much, but I 90% agree with you.
Okay, that's good.
The French doors, I had thought about that at one point myself before you said it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea as well.
All right.
I mean, I have seen that look with
Right.
a house that was a duplex that has the regular door and then they have French doors and it looks nice. So
Okay,
I'd be fine with that.
Well, I can add that as a third option, something other than the patio door.
Staff on that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right.
Are you going to propose that amendment?
Yeah.
Peter?
Yeah. All right, I'm going to revise the motion. So moving to approve COA 2022-110, subject to the following conditions. I'm going to read through the list. Condition number 1, as written. Condition number 2, to be revised such that there will not be a sliding patio door on the front of the house, but rather any of the following 3 options. One would be to render the existing door into a fixed door, caulked and painted in place, for example, with no work on the masonry. Second option would be to rebuild a segment of masonry wall and the stone windowsill to match the side lights and to turn the door opening into a new central window that's double hung to match left and right. So you'd have a 3-bay window. Option 3 would be a French door on the front in a compatible style. And I guess I should say that the applicant would work with staff to clarify which of those was going to be selected and how it would be executed. Condition number 3, all replacement windows shall match the original openings in terms of size and locations. That's retained. Condition number 4 would be retained. Condition number 5 would be revised to simply state that the eave depth of roof addition shall match the original. Condition 6, retained. Condition 7, retained. Condition 8 and 9, both retained.
Okay. Done? We have a second.
All right. Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Ms. Strong?
Yes.
Vice Chair Doss?
Yes.
And Chair Tucker?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. And you can get with staff.
Thank you.
All right, our next item is item number 6, COA 2022-125, 1715 Kendall Avenue in the Glenview Historic District.
The applicant present? Okay, come forward, please. Can you state your name and address?
All right. Isaac Fisher, 2565. You need my current address or this address?
Your current address.
Oh,
Where you live?
Isaac Fisher, 2565 Overlook Drive, Germantown, Tennessee, 38138.
Okay, could you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
All right.
Have you read the staff report?
I did.
Okay, are you in agreement with the staff and its conditions?
I did agree on one thing, but I did want to go over some changes.
Okay.
And kind of explain the alterations that were done.
Okay.
So I do disagree with some of them. Yes.
Let us look at the staff report and then we'll.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Lucas Skinner, Division of Planning and Development. So this is COA 2022-125, 1715 Kendall in the Glenview Historic District. Mr. Fisher is the applicant. So essentially the request is a slew of exterior alterations, including removing the 2 dormers on the front facade, replacing the roof, replacing rotten wood, replace the windows, as well as adding a 3rd window to the front facade, replacing a front porch door with a window, removing chimney, and then replacing the rest of the doors. So the slide here shows the condition from January as it was, and then the applicant, Mr. Fisher, supplied photos sort of during the process of these exterior alterations. So that shows the front as well as some of sort of the side and rear photos. So does the project meet district guidelines? In terms of materials, we found that yes, given the hardy siding as well as a lot of the other roofing materials did meet. In terms of windows and doors, replacing the windows, especially on the front facade being 1/1, we felt did meet the guidelines. However, the addition of the 3rd window we felt somewhat inappropriate, as it did throw off some of the symmetry on the front facade. Also, the replacement doors are not wooden and only have a very small sort of light at the top. So with that, we are recommending approval for these exterior alterations with 4 conditions. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Questions for staff?
Yeah, can we just quickly read through the conditions and make sure we understand them? So the applicant shall replace the front 2 dormers in an appropriate fashion. So you want them to rebuild some semblance or recreate what was there. Condition 2, the applicant shall remove the 3 windows from the front eastern facade, that's the left half. Maintain the previous opening with the 2, or in other words, restore something symmetrical or whatever's on the right side. 3, the applicant shall replace the front door with more craftsman style door. That's pretty straightforward. And then the last one's a boilerplate. Just wanted to make sure I understood. That wasn't so much of a question, actually, as me just processing it. Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay. Did you want to, you have time for your presentation?
All right. Once again, yes. So he did show the pictures of the changes, and basically one of the staff recommendations was about the 3rd window design. And when we were designing the floor plan, did you want to show them the interior floor plan?
I didn't get it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Basically, when we were designing the floor plan, the architect, Steve, completely changed the interior to a more modern, open floor plan. And if you look at homes in the area, and I actually drove down Kendall, there were over 15 homes with this asymmetrical look with the 3-2 combination. And the third window adds more natural light, especially with this new floor plan. So I was proposing to keep it as it is, being that it enhances the home and adds more natural light. And like I said, I do have photos of similar homes, and this was just on Kendall. Also, new homes. There's new construction in the subdivision, and it basically had the asymmetrical pattern of 3 windows in the front. But I can leave all of those up. Okay, I'm sorry. So I guess he's going to show that. Also, the dormers, we removed the dormers as a suggestion by the architect as well, just because, like I said, if we were to tear down this house and build a brand new construction, like many of the homes on vacant lots or tear downs in that area, most of them don't have the dormers. The look of the existing dormers are very inconsistent in the neighborhood. And I believe I have maybe at the end of that packet, I have 2 photos just showing inconsistencies for the dormers in that neighborhood. You have some modern what they call dog houses for the dormers. And this style that was originally there was the pyramid. It was called a triangle dormer, is what it once was. So throughout the neighborhood, it's just not consistent. The cons of dormers are if you don't properly maintain them, then it basically causes roof leaks. So it's more than it can cause roof leaks and just the design overall. If you look at these, like I said, in the beginning when they built the house, I'm sure it was great, but now over the years, those dormers are very inconsistent all throughout the neighborhood. I guess finally, the door recommendation. If you're looking at the existing door was just one wooden slab, and we actually have a craftsman style door that is a metal door, and it does have a window. But in the rear door, it's just a metal slab door. That's the rear door. That's just a metal slab door. But in the front, you can show a picture of the front. It does show. It's not that one, but they do have. It does have a window.
Seconds remain.
All right. So I am agreeing upon replacing the the front door to a more expensive door that does fit the neighborhood and more of a craftsman style. And those are my comments.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Commissioners have some questions?
So you're not in favor of 1 and 3? You're not in agreement with 1 and 3, but you are in agreement with 2? 1 and 2, and you are in agreement with 3, sorry.
Yes,
not 1 and 2.
With 3. Yes, not 1 and 2. I would like to leave 1 and 2. I would like to leave it in the condition that it's in now, like I said, with the enhanced floor plan. I've seen the new construction. If we were to tear down this home, then basically we could go with the 3-2 design and no dormers. So when I drive through the neighborhood, like I said, I showed you examples of asymmetrical patterns and homes without the dormers.
And have you lived in a historic district, or has your architect who have ever done anything in a historic district before?
Yes, the architect has done several designs, especially on the new homes that you all are approving.
Okay.
This was my first time working with them. I own a home in Glenview, and I own homes in several historic districts, but this is my first time actually learning of the process. So
Okay, and he did not apply to landmarks before this? This is why it's retroactive?
Correct, it's all retroactive.
Right.
And he had done all this work before?
This was an interior, he designed the interior floor plan.
Yeah.
So he just made the suggestions on the exterior, so we didn't.
But all that's already been done on the exterior?
Correct.
And he didn't apply for that with landmarks to change the exterior, interior's fine, I mean, to the exterior.
Right, because we did not go forth with the design for the exterior. So he just did the interior floor plan. But he made the suggestions, and we went ahead and did those.
But the dormers are gone, all that's been done to the exterior?
Correct.
Without approval?
Correct, without approval, yes.
Yes.
And I apologize that did happen, and so.
Okay.
What's the name of the architect or the architecture firm? What's the name of the architect or the architectural firm?
Yeah, we need to get on there.
It's Steve, and let me give you his full name. Basically, Legacy Home Plans, Steve Vatter at Legacy Home Plans in Memphis, Tennessee. Actually, it's in Bartlett, Tennessee.
And he is an architect?
He's a home plan designer, is what his formal title is on this. But he has done several floor plans in historic districts. Okay. Like I said, he did not do the exterior for this particular house. He did the interior design.
I'm confused. Who did the exterior then?
No one did the exterior. He just made suggestions, and we took those suggestions. So he did not draw up an exterior. But
the construction on the exterior, like the dormers are gone, all that stuff is up there. That's not,
Right. The framer did that. We didn't use the plan, so that's what happened on that.
So here's a struggle that this neighborhood and others similar to it, like the gables are a huge part of the design aesthetic, and the windows, the way the windows are. And believe it or not, I'm not even the one that's the stickler on the board, but they're a huge part of the design aesthetic in the neighborhood.
Exactly.
And the windows, the 2/1. So I'm trying to reconcile in my mind, like what is the solution here? Because it has been done. But what's the solution? The windows are probably an easier fix. I'm no architect, but it sounds like it would be an easier fix. But how do we fix the gables without having to tear the house down? And that was the dormers, I'm sorry. Without having
the
to tear
dormers are the easiest part to fix.
Easier than the windows?
It was not a real dormer. They're just basically on top of the roof.
Sure.
So you just build another triangular design to go on top. I personally, anyway, I
know they all look
fix.
different. Okay, and the windows, are they an easy fix?
The windows is not an easy fix. They are the same windows that were originally there, which is 1/1.
Mm-hmm.
So
you added one.
All three of these windows would have to come out, and basically you would go and get the same size as the other two windows on the opposite side, and enclose the whole. So it would be more framing and tearing out the one side of that whole, all the siding would have to come off and everything. So basically reframing it to the double side. Mm-hmm. But like I said, once again, that 3-2 combination is prevalent all along that street. It's at least 16 homes. And like I said, now that I know, if I was to build a home and then come before the commission, you all have already approved 3-2 combinations, 3-0 combinations. I mean, with no dormers and all of that. So I'm sorry.
Okay.
This home is built in 1925.
Respectfully, like, this house was one of the simplest houses on the street. It was very simple. This house, I'm looking at the streetscape, is very rich. Some of these are, good examples, but this house already had very few moves, right? It had a front porch, it had a twin set of windows on one side and a gable, and it repeated on the other side. And I don't think it's appropriate to say there are houses on the street with 3-2. They're asymmetrical. Those are asymmetrical houses. Those are bungalows that have a carport or whatever. They're not, the identity of this house was a simple symmetrical house, and that's been compromised. And I think that's for us to work out how to reconcile it. So I think we're straying into discussion and debate, and we're still on our applicant's statement. It's 4:00. Let's move on. Yeah, I mean, you're still there. Do you have anything else to add? I appreciate all the information you provided and your candor, right? You've acknowledged a mistake was made. But let's move on let's get a motion on here. Let's move this forward.
Okay, well,
One thing to
I've
say
got to make
before.
sure that they don't have any more questions for him.
Okay, I have one thing for the applicant. You stated that you do own this property or several properties in historic districts. So you do understand going forward with the properties that you own in historic districts, that if you're making any changes to the exterior,
Yes, ma'am.
you need to file with landmarks for a COA.
Yes, ma'am. And I appreciate this process. I've learned a lot of information. I definitely have a high level of respect for what you all do. So thank you all very much for making Memphis better.
Okay, thank you. We through with questions for, okay. There's none for or against. Okay. Did you have any final statement as the applicant? Because you've stated everything you wanted to say, correct?
I did.
Okay. I'm going to close this now to public, and I need a motion from the commission.
I move for the purpose of discussion to approve case COA 2022-125, subject to staff recommendations.
Second. Okay. Continue.
So I think, what we've touched on is that the staff recommendation is pretty severe, right? You got to tear off siding, you got to put a window back. So the front door, check. We need to do that. That's just a suburban front door. It needs to be a Craftsman front door. Moving on. This house had nothing going for it in 1925. I mean, that's not true. It had the bare minimum of visual interest. That has been completely removed. In my opinion, we need to put something back on the roof that is very straightforward. The problem is we have a 3-bay window on one side and a 2-bay on the other.
Oh.
So if you say we're going to match the width and we're going to build these gables and we pick a roof slope and we stick with the same roof slope, one is wider, so it's going to be taller, right? So if this house is a face, one eye is like that funny emoji with the big eye over here and a little eye over here, okay? So I have a simple suggestion that we require a scale drawing of the front elevation. The applicant makes that and works with staff to come up with a solution. And it might be that this slopes, the height is consistent, but something's got to go back on the roof, probably on both sides. And I guess what I'm conceding is let's compromise and let the 3-bay window stay. And staff can work with him with a scale drawing, like somebody measures it and draws it on graph paper, and the windows are drawn to scale and the ridge is at the right height. We've got architects and planners that can probably work through that. Y'all think that's a good compromise?
Lightning has struck twice.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to amend my motion. Any comments from staff?
No, I was going to say your suggestion is to strike condition 2.
I'm gonna run through them like I did real quick, and revise the one that I want to revise. So I'm going to amend and change my motion to approve case 2022-125, subject to the following conditions. Condition number 1 will be revised that this applicant will create a scale drawing of the front facade, either with professional help or themselves in graph paper, but it is to scale, and it will show the front porch, the roof, the columns, the windows, And the idea is that the applicant will work with staff to find a acceptable solution that where the dormers go back on the house aligned to the edges of the windows as currently constructed. So in other words, we can't put a 5-6 foot wide dormer over an 8 foot wide window on the left side. So applicant will work with staff to work through it. Condition 1. Strike condition number 2. Retain condition number 3 and retain condition number 4.
Is there a second? Or is there any more?
Any objection from the second, from Ms. Doss? Okay. All right. Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Ms. Strong?
Yes.
Vice Chair Doss?
Yes.
And Chair Tucker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item is item number 9, COA 2022-132, 1866 Foster Avenue in the Glenview Historic District.
Very much.
Which number is it?
Number 9.
9. Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Okay, is the applicant present? Could you state your name and address, please?
Kevin McKinney, 1866 Foster Avenue.
Okay, could you raise your right hand?
Yes.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you. Have you reviewed the staff report?
Yes.
Are you in agreement with the staff report and the conditions?
Yes. I think the recommendations was to do the brick columns of 48 inches, do stucco around the entire house, hardy board stucco for the second gable, 10-inch. I think there's the 10-inch board going across. So yeah, I'm very familiar.
Okay, you're good with all of them?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do y'all want to hear? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item before you is an exterior alteration request to change the details of an approved new construction project in Glenview Historic District. The applicant obtained the COA approval back in September 2021 for a 1.5-story single-family home, and the building permit was issued in December 2021 with minor changes to the front facade, which were reviewed by staff and the zoning administrator and approved. This front elevation is the version that was approved with the building permit. Here you can see the details of the existing, the approved front elevation for this new construction with lap siding, brick coating at the front, brick bases for the porch columns, and board and batten design for the front gables. Staff had a site visit in September 2022 and noted several changes that were done during construction, diverging from the approved facade details. So we noted that the exterior materials of the structure were significantly different than what was approved, such as the brick wainscot at the foundation walls were missing. Main exterior material is painted brick, although the approval was for horizontal lap siding with 6-inch reveal. Porch columns were timber and do not have brick pedestals as approved, and the windows on the front elevation are currently 1/1, although the approval was for 4/1. To sum up, the applicant significantly altered the facade details which were approved by the commission during construction. So the staff refrains from making any recommendations at this point. However, if approved, we recommended 4 conditions for you to consider. And I believe the applicant stated that they agree with all of the staff conditions. So this concludes my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners have any questions for staff? Good? Peter? Okay. Okay. Did you want to make any statement or?
No. No
Okay.
statement. No, ma'am.
Okay. Commissioners have any questions for the applicant?
I have a question for the applicant. So with the COA that was approved or issued in December, it was just December of 2021, versus the changes we have now, why did you all not adhere to the approval?
I can't hardly hear you.
For the COA that was previously approved for the new construction here at this property, what was the reason for not adhering to the COA or your prior approval? What was the reason for all the changes that you all did?
Well, actually, there was something between the architect, which was Gardo, and me. The original plans was to brick everything, and when they did the site plan, he did 4-inch brick up and the rest siding, and just going based off our relationship and what I told him, I thought that he actually did the site plan for all the brick, and so when I started building the house, I bricked it, and when I looked at our application, it had that we got approved for 4 feet brick and siding and things like that. So that's a mistake that I made, and I just, accepted it and didn't try to give Miss Asia a hard time or anything like that. Because like I told her, I said, hey, that's a mistake on my end. I have built several homes in the historic district, and I have abided by them all, but that was just a mistake on me and my architect.
And how did you end up painting the brick? Since you just bricked it, what was the point of painting it?
Ma'am?
It says Glenview Historic District, so, there are brick houses, and that's fine. But I'm asking, what was the point of painting the brick? Because painting the brick in Glenview is not allowed. So you bricked the house, but then you went behind and painted a brand-new brick construction.
Yeah, I didn't know that part there. So, again, going through this process is something that I have learned. The brick that I had put on the house was painted brick. So, it was, that's what they called it, is the type of brick that you paint. So, that's basically what happened.
But you have done other buildings and other houses in historic districts?
Yes, ma'am, I have, and I have painted the brick.
And have you come in front of landmarks before?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, not because I painted brick, but only just to get my plans approved.
Okay.
So just so you know, going forward, Glenview is one of the neighborhoods where they say unpainted brick shall remain unpainted. So if you come across unpainted brick in historic neighborhoods, don't paint it. It's different if it's painted already, but if it's unpainted brick, going forward, please don't paint it.
Yes, ma'am.
And make sure you get a COA.
Please believe, I don't want to continue to, look, this house was almost completed, and I got a stop work order on it. So I definitely don't want to go through this again.
Peter? Anyone, because they're not for or against? Okay, thank you. Did you want to make any other statement or?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm going to close this to public discussion. I need a motion from the commissioners to go forward.
I make a motion to approve COA 22-132, 1866 Foster Avenue,
Could we
as
have,
conditioned by staff.
could we have a second? Somebody?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
No, I got no discussion. I think staff's recommendations are good.
Okay.
I appreciate the applicant's willingness to make it right with the recommendations.
Okay, so have a vote?
Ready for a vote? Okay. Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Yes.
Vice Chair Doss?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Our next item is item number 10, COA 2022-133, 1914 Poplar Avenue in the Evergreen Historic District.
Okay, is the applicant present?
I will note, too, that the applicant has agreed to a friendly amendment to this, which is, and I can't remember which condition this is. I don't have the report in front of me, but the condition that pertains to the height of the wall, and so the condition would read, the height of the perimeter brick wall shall be 6 feet at the parking lot and 8 feet around the pool.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Applicant, please.
I'm Christine Donhart with the Reeves Firm, 6800 Poplar Avenue.
Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Have you seen the report?
Yes.
Are you in agreement?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone want to see? Well, we've got so we need to go forward with the.
I mean, if you don't have to see the presentation, but if you would
Okay,
like.
does anyone want to see the presentation?
No, I've spent quite a bit of time looking at it.
May I add this friendly amendment that we discussed right before the meeting with the applicant, that the condition to lower the wall and gate along Poplar and Buena Vista to 6 feet instead of 8, and have 8 feet tall wall along the north property line and around the pool area.
Okay,
so
thank you.
We're adding that as a basically a third condition.
Okay. Do we have any questions for staff before we go forward?
Yeah, I mean, is the site relatively flat? The wall has pilasters or piers built into it, and so the wall might step to maintain that 6 feet. Is that, I guess I'm getting into details of how it's built, or a question for anybody. I mean, are those street frontages relatively flat?
Yes.
Okay. It looks like there's piers every 45 feet or so, 40 feet, something.
We would do a step-down wall from 8
Right.
feet to 6 feet, so it would look nice.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Any other questions? Did you have are you okay? Do you have a statement?
Well, it's a great property, and we're excited about this project, revitalizing it. I have my client here from Forge Partners, representing the ownership. So any questions you have, let me know.
Okay. Do y'all have any questions? Okay, thank you. I have Ms. Lee in opposition. Could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Alicia Harrington Lay. I live at 216 Buena Vista Place.
Okay, could you raise your, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. When we first saw the drawings, we were very concerned about the pool and the sidewalk that leads out to Buena Vista, right by the pool. We have some concerns for the neighborhood with the parking and people getting access to the pool, from Buena Vista Place. We were also concerned about the lighting around the pool. After speaking with Aisha and the Parkview representatives, they're trying really hard to keep the lighting appropriate so that's not a lot of bleed over into our property. And we really appreciate that. We really love the property, in the neighborhood. We want it to succeed. So it's like, I mean, I had to sign opposition. I wasn't sure whether to say opposition or in
It's
favor,
okay.
because we really want this property to succeed.
Okay. Thank you. Did y'all have any questions for her? Did you have any other? You good? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. At this time, we're going to close the discussion. We just need a motion.
I move to approve case 2022-133, subject to the recommendations with the additional friendly amendment, as it was stated, that the wall would be 6 feet tall along Poplar and Buena Vista and remain 8 feet tall around the pool perimeter.
Second.
Go ahead.
Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Strong?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Chair Doss?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item is item number 11, COA 2022-135, 1150 North McNeil Street in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District.
Is the applicant present? Could you state your name and address, please?
Stingley, 5255 Longstone Loop, Memphis, Tennessee, 38109.
Okay, could you raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Have you seen the staff report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are you in agreement with the staff report and the conditions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Do y'all want to see staff presentation? Okay.
Yes, Lucas Skinner with the Division of Planning and Development. Yeah, I'm going to add in, there have been some developments from the past couple of days that I just wanted to speak with on behalf of the applicant. So this is COA 2022-135, again, at 1150 North McNeil and Valentine Evergreen Historic District. So the original request was to paint exterior brick. And then we also noticed that there was siding replaced as well as the roof. So where things kind of are right now, the siding has been painted. There was just a little bit of overspray onto the brick, and the roof has been replaced. So we are recommending approval for that. And speaking with the applicant, they have retracted their request to paint the brick. They do not any longer want to paint the brick. However, the only other thing I really wanted to add, the applicant would like to go ahead and try and get an approval to hopefully, in speaking with them, repair the windows and doors, but if needed, potentially replace. So all that to be said, we could recommend approval for the exterior alterations to replace the siding, windows, doors, and roof with 2 new added conditions, 3 and 4, that if any new or replacement windows are needed, that they shall match existing windows with 6/6 grids and true divided lights. And those examples be provided to staff for approval prior to the issuance of the COA. Also, condition number 4, that if any doors just be subject to craftsman style to give an allusion to the grid pattern of the windows, and those examples also be provided to staff. So again, we'd be striking the paint of the brick portion of the request. And I know the applicant wishes to go ahead and approve potentially to repair and or replace windows and doors. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Okay. Do you have any questions for staff?
Did you say they are replacing brick?
No brick. The brick is, I believe, in a good enough condition. I think they're just going to clean and repair as needed. But just the new addition is just for windows and doors. They're, in a bit of shape, if you will. So I know the applicant expressed that they would like to repair as much as possible, but we wanted to go ahead and add in conditions just in case replacement is needed, that they could go ahead and move ahead with the work.
Does this back up to Cypress Creek floodplain? Just wondering, just for myself.
Yes, it does.
That looks like it.
Yes. I have a question for staff regarding the porch columns on the front. Okay, thank you. I was just, some of the images in here on the staff report look skinnier or not necessarily in proportion with the porch overhang, and I just wanted to make sure that the porch columns were proportionate for the, in scale and proportion for the porch overhang.
Yes, I mean, I think they are essentially where the old ones were. They're just of a more substantial scale. They are a little bit thicker.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion to go forward?
Sure, I'll try it. I move to approve case COA 2022-135. I'm going to say subject to the following conditions, or I'll say subject to staff recommendations with the following revisions. Striking condition number 1, or recommendation 1, and approving work for repairing and painting, siding, attempted repair of windows with an asterisk. I'll come back on a new condition regarding windows and replacing the roof. So a new condition that the windows sounds like they're going to be attempted to be repaired, and if that is not feasible, then any new windows would be in kind to match the divided light pattern of existing windows. For example, 6/6 windows that are seen on the front of the house with true divided lights, and also subject to the product data for the proposed window replacement product being submitted to OPD staff for review and approval. Should the front door or any door visible from the street be replaced, it would be a craftsman style door with divided lights of a similar scale to the windows. And then condition 3 as written would remain. How did I do?
Yes, well, yeah, if you're okay with these, I can just use.
I didn't, geez, I wrote all that down while you. I don't look at that, I got my paper.
You can look up the screen.
Holy cow, okay, I was there the whole time. That.
Sorry, yes, yeah, I made it easy for you.
I just thought he wanted to read it.
No, I was frantically scribbling what he revised it to. That. I proposed that as revised.
We have
As last
a clear motion then.
My motion is to approve as last amended by staff. That's ridiculous.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, let's call.
All right.
We need a big screen back there.
Are you need to look?
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Ms. Strong?
Yes.
Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Vice Chair Doss?
Yes.
And Chair Tucker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great day.
Our last item is item number 12, COA 2022-136.
All-time shenanigans. Sorry.
1441 Lindale Avenue in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District.
Before you start, excuse me. Is the applicant present? Thank you. Could you state your name and address, please?
Yeah, James Lamore, 2011 Waverly Avenue, Memphis,
Okay.
Tennessee.
Can you raise your right hand? Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Have you read the staff report?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you in agreement?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So we need the staff report, please.
Good afternoon, Margo Payne with DPD. This property is located at 1441 Lindale in Valentine Evergreen. It's a one-story craftsman-style bungalow with stone veneer built in 1930. It previously had a mix of original 1/1 double-hung wood windows and 6/6 vinyl replacements. It also had 2 multi-paneled front entry doors. The applicant has already replaced the entry doors and the windows with a mix of 1/1 and 6/1 vinyl windows with flat in-between glass muntins that do not fit the original openings. The work was completed without permits or a COA, resulting in a stop work order issued on September 15th. So you can see in the photos, the size of the original openings is not being maintained, and the mix of 6/6 and 1/1 vinyl windows did not match the original 1/1 double hung pattern. Additionally, the 6/6 replacement windows have the flat in-between glass muntins that are not appropriate. This property was formerly a duplex with 2 front entrances, and one has been replaced with a window. While this removal of the door is acceptable, the opening should be filled with a window that matches the rest of the windows on the home in size and style. And additionally, the front door has been replaced with a product that's not in keeping with the craftsman architectural style of the home. So staff recommends approval for exterior alterations with the following conditions: that all replacement windows shall match the original in terms of style, opening size, and 1/1 grid pattern with sashes of substantial dimensions. And the front entry door shall be replaced with a craftsman-style door that fits the original opening size. And that would be reviewed by staff prior to the issuance of the COA. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
You have 5 minutes to talk about.
I appreciate the time. So when I came into possession of this property, it had already been converted into a single-family home. The previous door that was there was foamed shut and kind of looked very unappealing. Many of the windows had already been replaced with 6/6 windows. Many of the adjacent properties, referencing property address 1437, that sold at the end of last year, was fully replaced with vinyl windows 6/6. That's right next door. The property 2 doors down at 1449 that was sold middle of last year was fully replaced with 6/6 vinyl windows all the way around. I've had lots of problems with this property. A lot of the 1/1 original ones were broken. They stole the condenser outside, the furnace inside, graffitied the floor, stole a lot of my building materials through the process. It's at the intersection of Jackson and North Watkins. It's right behind a gas station, right behind a liquor store. I've been doing my best to keep with the project and not give up on it halfway through. This is intended to be my home, so my girlfriend was really concerned on safety, so I let her pick the windows that would go in, which happened to be smaller in size, and have the things in the middle that were like the adjacent properties. But we felt safer than having to put bars on the windows. If you look at the police records, they've actually been at the property all days this week. There was people trying to break in. The property adjacent to it last night was completely broken in, and the entire kitchen was ripped out. I'm trying my best. I think this is a safer option than having to put 1/1s with bars over the windows is kind of where I'm at. I appreciate your time.
Applicant. So where do you live, in a historic district? You said you lived in...
No, I intend to move into this property. I do not live there yet.
Okay. And you were not advised to come in front of landmarks to do these?
I was unaware that this existed until a couple weeks ago.
Okay. All right.
So the only change you want to make is to add bars to the window? Is that what you said?
No, you want
I would prefer not to. I don't want to feel like I'm moving into an unsafe neighborhood.
That's why you don't want the 1/1, because you feel like the ones that 6/6 is more safe
right.
because of the lack of,
Yeah, gotcha.
A little more difficult for somebody to crawl through. I mean, the property next door has original 1/1s, and that's what was broken into last night. And I have the police records and stuff if you want that information. But
is someone living there, or is it an abandoned house?
No, it's somebody's working on it.
Okay.
So, the street's been targeted quite heavily. There's some other properties at the end of the street that are getting worked on as well.
You said you you have had a chance to read the staff report, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
On page 14 of the staff report is a description of the property, 1441 Lindale, which was built in 1930. Craftsman Bungalow Stone, which this property is quite unique because it is stone work all around, not brick. It's a one-story. It had asphalt shingle simple hip roof, 3/4 porch with wrought iron supports, multi-paneled with multi-light entry doors, and it was paired 1/1 double hung windows. I don't know if you had a chance did you have a chance to look at that? It was highlighted in the staff report.
I noted that half of the windows on the property you can see in some of the fixtures.
Right, I understand they've changed over time. But what I was getting at, since you say you are moving into a historic district, I was just pointing out the uniqueness. So, you know, going forward as the homeowner, you don't really find a lot of this where the house has that type of stonework. So that's just something to keep in mind.
And I tried to find the brick veneer or whatever cement board was to fix on the other thing. I couldn't find that anywhere. Yeah.
So I'm just looking at the size of the windows that you used on here too.
I would also like to say in terms of, you normally would like to avoid the mismatch windows on a house. You know, obviously things have changed over time since it was built in 1930, and as you said, windows have changed, but it tends to detract from the house when you have a mismatch of window styles like that.
Are these the original windows on the front? No, these aren't the original windows on the front. Okay. Oh, right. It's right there.
And I have a question for staff on page 5 of the staff report. They changed out, you did say that they changed out the door to like a window, like that second. Yes. That's changed to what they're saying is a window now?
Yes, you can see in this picture up on the screen, there were 2 front doors.
Yeah.
And one is now a window.
That's the one without the fan window is a window.
Yes, it's just been, there's just wood board below.
Okay.
Which this is a tricky situation because this stone veneer, I mean, I don't know where you'd get that now.
I understand. Yeah. Do you intend on keeping this white?
Yeah, that was the original color of the house.
It sure makes it stand out a whole lot.
If you need me to change
Especially
it,
those doors.
I'd be open to changing colors if need be.
Well, that's the original color though, so.
There was small. Trim was
I didn't see it. Yeah, it's the trim that is even, like Joyce was saying, it makes it stand out an awful lot. Plus I didn't know that was a window. It looks like a door still. I know. And then the other door looks like from contemporary house, 1960s up with the.
But that's in the condition already to make it a craftsman door. So he'll have to change that.
Had you heard of a fixed door before? Since this property had two front entranceways, had you heard of a fixed door prior to our discussion earlier with the property in Cooper Young?
I apologize, I didn't hear your question.
Have you heard of a fixed door before prior to our discussion that we had earlier about the property in Cooper Young where it had the 2 doors on the front porch? Had you heard of a fixed door prior to today?
No, I didn't. And if I had photos previously previously, all they did was take spray foam or all the way around it. It looked pretty horrible in my opinion. I was trying to make it nicer, but no, I had.
Yeah, we have an image. We have an image of the two doors prior to the renovations you made.
Okay. Do y'all have any other questions? Okay. Do I have a motion for discussion? Anybody?
I move to
Yes.
approve COA 2022-136 at 1441 Lindale Avenue for the purpose of discussion.
A second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're just going to kind of talk right now.
So
Maybe it
okay.
wouldn't be quite as.
Well, I was looking at the original on the map, on Google Maps. I mean, it was white, it maybe not as bright white, but it was
wasn't
white
as much
before.
wasn't as much wood around it, was it? It's right here. Yeah.
Bottom picture on page 4. Yeah, I was on this one right
I'm
here.
looking at this.
Because I can zoom over here.
That's how it was previously on page 4.
Yeah. And yeah, that's what I have here. The window / door feels awkward. I understand the 6/6 for security purposes, but I don't know if that falls within the guidelines. Well, obviously it doesn't, but I get the need for security.
Am I missing it, or do we have a current picture from a distance, not all up close, so you could feel everything? You like these are from a distance? Am I missing something?
There's no.
I have some photos I could supply if you want some photos.
From a distance, so we can see the whole thing?
I don't know how far of a distance.
Like these, like the old one. You know, all we have is this, details.
Gotcha, not that far, but I can give you
Well,
what I have.
long enough so you could see the whole front.
Maybe give those to them and they can put it up and see if that helps.
So that, never mind, I can't ask you yet. Okay.
It's the same as it's up here, but yeah.
Just to add context, the top 3 would be my house, 2 adjacent houses on the street with the 6x6 and the broken-in kitchen.
It's the same one, so I don't.
That's not.
I know, but it's
not. You're right.
No, he just said those are houses on the same street.
I know, yeah, that doesn't help.
No, she's talking about this windows.
Yeah, and I just wondered what
To
the
the
house
applicant,
looks like right now.
You do
from the
understand,
front.
I think it's important to note sometimes that we also take into account the materials or the architectural style. And so even though houses are nearby, sometimes there can be differences.
I don't know what to say.
Over 6 windows.
I'm looking.
have, what, the front of the house has 1/1s, is that correct, Margot?
That's what it looks
Yes.
like.
They're just not the correct size.
Yes. They all seem to fit a little bit differently. They are 1/1 on the front. Yeah, can we go back?
Including like a 1/1 that's been installed in the door panel, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
I think
There are a few
openings,
6/6 on the sides.
but the openings were changed too. I mean, they're 1/1, but the openings are not.
It's bigger.
Yeah, it's different from what was originally there.
So there are definitely grid between glass, 6/6 or 6-pane sashes on the street. Does that, I mean, this VECA is what, a year old as a district? Maybe more?
Almost 2 years.
2 years old.
Entry door shall replace.
Grid between glass, is it allowed in
They
the,
didn't say anything about that.
in the guidelines? I have this whole stack, but I
A
don't
year and a
have
half, to be exact.
a year and a half. So is grid between glass is no longer allowed, or correct?
No, not in Valentine Evergreen.
Right.
And it's, but 6/1 is, right? I feel like I remember.
Well, no, I mean, it says in the guideline, I think you have to replace the pattern with what's there. So if 6/1's allowed, if the house had 6/1, but
You can go ask him.
the photographs show 1/1s.
Yeah.
This is a hot mess, like, I don't know what to do with this.
Well, in the front door thing on number 2 indicates craftsman door for the door, not for this window door.
Because we have
Yeah.
one similar.
No, in the front, I mean, the door with a door opening with a random 1/1 is problematic.
Yeah.
So this question is, what's the stance of the commission in terms of leniency for none of it is compliant? You know, none of it.
Pardon me, would you say that again? I didn't hear you.
I just said none of this is compliant, right? So like the 1/1s are the correct style on the front, but they're not made for this house. They're 8 inches too short, and they, you know,
Right.
framed in oddly. The wagon wheel half round window in the front door is not appropriate, of course. The operable window inside a door panel is not appropriate. So that's what's going on the front. But then the sides are all both ill-fitting and not allowed, grid between glass, not the right sash pattern. I mean,
That's another one.
I don't know what to do with this, frankly. Like,
I don't know what the fix is.
I mean, it's.
And the doors, the window doors off.
I think, can sashes be replaced? Like, can the paint color be toned down? Maybe. Can the can the grid between glass sash be replaced with a sash that is 1/1? I don't know if that's even economically feasible or viable. Like, you know, so when somebody breaks a window, right, the window frame stays in place, but the window sash, glass gets repaired or the sash gets replaced. So like, I mean, I almost want to kick this back to the applicant and say, what, maybe come back to us in a month and say, here's option 1 is going to cost me this much. Option 2 is going to cost me this much. Full compliance is going to cost me this much, and our jaws will all probably hit the table in front of us, right? But put yourself in our position, like, what are we supposed to do with this? And it's compounded even more by the fact that your neighbors who own their property 19 months before you install the exact windows that we're going to steamroll you over, right? That sucks, but that's the rule.
So we recommend
And the fixed door.
Saying like, that's an option. Like, please come back with some kind of workable.
Work with staff to, like, on the design.
Like, I understand staff's position, which is the direct, exact interpretation of this. Like, that's what the guideline says is allowed and what's not allowed. It's like, tear it all out and fix it. But is that what's going to happen? Maybe. But can we,
Pass it.
can't pass it. That's the bottom line.
And I guess my question is, when we discussed earlier about the
Can't hear you. I'm sorry.
We discussed earlier with the application in Cooper Young with the 2 doors on the front porch. I just feel like that just make it a fixed door. This window door thing is
Right.
just.
I hear you. That's 10% of this case. I hear you.
know,
I
but
agree. That's what needs to happen at that spot, I think.
Those doors?
Yeah.
One door, if it's not going to be a door, turns into a fixed door.
Well, that's what, yeah, I mean, that's going back to that, I mean, it
Right.
used to be.
But
And then-
what are we going to do with, I mean, there's 3 sides of this house that are visible from the street.
Well, Peter, isn't that a same thing? on that
That's a
side?
door on this
There's a door
side. I
on the
can't
side
tell
where
what's
a window
happening
used
there.
to be.
You mean, I don't know. Margot, do you know if the side door is operable or if it looks like it's not probably, right?
This,
No, you're right.
that one,
That is the.
that looks like the one on the front.
That was a separate door, also replaced with a window.
But is it, yeah, can you open it? There's not any steps.
The applicant can maybe better speak to it.
Can we?
If you want to.
Ask him? Let's just ask him instead of going. Is that okay? I know it's against.
Sure, unless anybody's opposed to it, then.
I'm sorry. The side, this one, that looks like the door that's on the front, that's not a door, I mean,
Yeah,
what is
it's-
that?
It's not operable, and it's been plastered on the inside. to make a wall.
What was there? A window?
It was
Another
It was
window?
framed in like that
Okay.
before I got it. Or I got the
Okay.
idea.
I mean, I think that we're going to need some help from the applicant to explore solutions to this, because I think the chair's point is that we can't pass this. So I would encourage you to explore options for sash replacement.
Color options to mute the wood so you
Right.
can't see that stark white.
Right. So, you know,
Door
where
issues.
where I see a mismatched size and there's more material at the header, which can be seen on the side of the house. Margot, are you able to show a slide of the side, like where the gas meter is? That's the same side
That's
with
that
the
same
door,
side.
right? So like buildings have headers, and that is sometimes expected to be thicker. It helps that that's the side of the house. But when you see the front of the house and you have the built up on the bottom,
Yeah.
like it's not even done the same way. So like, I mean, I guess let me back up. We may be okay with keeping the windows. We want to help you, right? So if the windows can stay, but the sashes that have 6 grids can be replaced to single, that's maybe a sash replacement. I mean, we just need to explore. I think we're gonna probably have a motion to hold and put the onus on you to come back with things that you think are gonna be affordable, or maybe, something to help us out. Maybe work with staff, but definitely do some work.
So right now, since I can't see far enough away to tell some of these things, was anything else done to, I'm asking staff, this area up in here, or was that left alone?
The gable?
Uh-huh.
That was left alone.
And the little windows in there? You didn't do anything there? Okay.
They're what were there originally.
Okay.
And maybe I would recommend as a toolkit or some kind of tool to create is a photograph that gets as far away from each side and squares a squared up photograph of each side from a distance, and then, almost an inventory. If you need to number your windows, like S1 for, south is all the S1, S2, S3, S4, but some kind of just specific strategy that you can start to explore to bring this more into compliance. And I'm saying more into compliance, not into compliance, right? Because it's a rough house. It's a rough neighborhood. And you alluded to a lot of that.
Oh, it is.
You alluded to a lot of that.
I mean, and we've worked in those neighborhoods for 20 years in the jobs that we've done. So I understand we don't need to know statistics. We know what it is.
Right.
Who did you work with on these windows? And I mean, there was a contractor involved, or did you do it yourself?
No, I don't have the capability to put windows in.
You what?
I don't have the capability to put windows in. So I worked with a contractor.
Okay.
Why didn't they order windows that fit? I mean, I guess that's a rhetorical question. The ship has sailed, but
And
what happened?
And I'm assuming
And then, like, it's not like, they don't even fit, and then also, they don't match. Like, you got 6/6 on the sides and 1/1 on the front, so it's just, I guess we're passing judgment on your contractor.
They did not do you justice.
No, they didn't. Right.
I would also just point out that on the sides already have replaced 6/6s. So the front of the houses, they look like they were maybe replaced 30, 40 years ago.
Front of the house is the big
But
deal.
wait, I mean, I understand, so you're saying that you didn't replace any of the windows on the sides of the house?
No, the back half, correct. I did.
Okay.
The front, so like the front ones.
But like, we have photos from Google Street View in January of 2022, and I guess the question for staff is like,
You can see, like, here are the Google
you didn't
Street
do that
views.
work, right? I can see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. That was probably mentioned earlier.
Except the door thing.
So,
I don't know.
I think we should move to hold.
I think we have
And
to.
let him go
There's
ahead
no
and
two
work
ways
with,
about it.
with staff and figure it out.
I guess, and so
Motion to hold.
I understand the position of staff on the recommendations, but maybe we could find something to ameliorate this, because it seems complicated in that there are windows that I think we spent some time talking about that you didn't put in, but still what you put in is kind of an eclectic hot mess, no offense, that your contractor put in.
I think they take them. I'm going to keep.
So anyway, I mean, I moved to hold the case for 30 days.
I second that.
So we have a motion to hold for 1 month. Mr. Warren, and do we have a second?
Yes, I second.
Cox? Okay. And you can just do an aye or nay.
All in favor?
Aye.
We got it.
All right, and that was our last case.
And then you'll talk, staff will get with you.
So I just coordinate with them.
Yes, and we'll come back next month. So we'll work with you to get a lot of this information pulled together and have something that